Hold your breath. We're on a journey to the bottom of the ocean. From the strange geology of the continental shelf, past the black smokers on the mid-ocean ridge, we're heading into the abyss. Almost 2.5 miles down, we pass the wreck of the Titanic. And then we're there. The seafloor between 2.5 and 3.8 miles down is known as the abyssal plain. The pressure here is phenomenal, enough to crush a soccer ball nearly to the size of a marble. This is home to the largest landscape on our planet. Put together, the abyssal plains make up more than 60% of the Earth's surface. This is the graveyard of the ocean. No sunlight penetrates this deep, but everything that sinks in the sea above comes to rest here. Ships, sea creatures, and snow. Drive along the seafloor of the abyss, and you drive through a blizzard. A snowstorm that has continued non-stop for thousands of years. This is marine snow, and it creates the flat seafloor of the abyssal plains. When tiny plants and animals living in the upper part of the ocean die, their skeletons start to sink. On their own, the cells of these plants are so small and light, they would typically take over 150 years to reach the sea floor. Many would dissolve before they got there. But scientists find that when glued together with the sticky mucus from small plants, called phytoplankton, they form large clumps that can sink in only a few weeks. This is marine snow. The flurry of marine snowflakes carries 815 million tons of carbon to the sea floor each year. The animals that live here, it's like manna from heaven. They rely on it for food. Over thousands of years, marine snow and other sediment build up into a thick layer. When geologists drill through the sea floor in the abyssal plains, they have to drill through several hundred feet of sediment before they hit bedrock. They bring up core after core of gas-oozing mud, the remains of marine snow and other detritus. From top to bottom, the core of sediment from the deepest drill hole stretches for 3 miles. That's 11 times the height of the Empire State Building. Down here, wrecks of Spanish galleons and other sunken ships take thousands of years to disintegrate. But they're not the only things decaying on the seafloor. Whales live in the top mile of ocean. But when they die, their bodies will usually sink. 69,000 whales die every year. The vast majority sink to the abyssal plain. A team of scientists from Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute are investigating what happens to these whale carcasses as they decay. Today, they are paying a visit to a dead young blue whale. They're hoping that its remains, lying off the coast of California, will yield new information about life in the deep ocean. The ship's high-tech robotic submersible will act as their eyes and arms in the deep sea. It launches through an opening in the ship's hull. Over 3,000 feet down, the whale's bones are laid out perfectly, like a museum display. A whale carcass goes through a series of stages. The main scavengers, sharks and hagfish, are gone within a year once they've eaten the first course, the soft tissue. But it's the creatures that move in for the main course that give a real insight into this strange world. These tiny, red, hair-like creatures are here to capitalize on the juicy bones. Marine biologist Bob Bryanhook studies these worms.
As the bones start to decay, inside of the bones, there's a massive reserve of fat. This is why your mother and your grandmother threw a nice old beef shank in the soup and boiled it up to get that rich marrow material into the soup. That's what we eat. And that's exactly what these worms are eating.
It takes the worms and other creatures around 100 years to consume a large blue whale. A single dead whale is so large that at the spot where it falls, it delivers as much food to the abyssal plain as 4,000 years of marine snow. To identify the creatures living on the bones, Brian Hook's team need to bring some to the surface. Once on board, they identify and count the different species. They find that the whale's contribution to the ecology of the abyssal plain is enormous. 1 square yard of bones can support over 170 different species, some of which only live on dead whales.
This is all we're looking for.
On this single trip, the marine biologists discovered 3 new species. It's confirmation of how little we know about the deep ocean.
The future of this work's pretty obvious. Every time we go out, we find something new.
Amazing sample.
Over the millennia, whale carcasses contribute to the thick layer of sediment that builds up at the bottom of the ocean.